Okay.
Carpenter? Here. Berge?
Here.
McCall?
Here.
Shear? Here. McKellar?
Here.
Warren?
Here.
And Fisher.
Here. Need a motion to approve the agenda. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I'm just reminded, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you would all rise. Go ahead, Mike.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mike. Let's move on to the consent grouping. There are two sets of minutes, the regular meeting minutes of April 15, as well as the closed meeting minutes of April 15. Additions, corrections, comments? Not? Stephanie?
Okay. First up is the monthly accounts payable listing. This would be for month ending April 30. We have checks numbered 158,513 through 158,909. The total for the month is $1,461,284.29. Moving on to the revenue and expense summary. We could look first at general education. Revenues we have at 68% and expenditures at 81%. Special education, our revenue is pacing at 67%, expenditures at 74%, and finally, vocational education, our percentages are 86% and 74%. Should I move on?
Questions of board members regarding the business portion of Stephanie's report? Yeah, Nora.
Okay, looking at personnel, we have two new employees for your consideration. Mary Walters Fornes, early on coordinator, and Deborah Pelton, accountant. We have two employee resignations. Mary Robinson and Sarah Eichberger. Move on to
Go ahead. Yep.
Out-of-state travel. We have a few for your consideration. First, Dawn Farley, TCAPS teacher, to attend the IBMYP conference in Austin, Texas, and that would be July 20 through 23. I want to remind everybody that we approve these because they're out of state and the grant funds flow through us. Katie Bonney, TCAPS teacher, to attend the IB Category 3 conference September 26 through 29 in December, Colorado. And again, this is paid through IB funds. Robin Hornkohl, to attend the Adaptive Schools training in Lake Tahoe, California, July 20 through 25. This also will be paid from grant funds. And finally, we have some student competitions coming up. Early Childhood Education would like to attend the FCCLA competition in San Antonio, Texas, July 6 through 10. The staff attending would be Melanie Zinger and Cindy Blantenberger, as well as students from the area. And then Power Equipment will be at Skills USA Nationals, and that will be June 23 through 28 in Kansas City, Missouri. We have one staff member as well as students attending.
Questions, board members, about travel?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Discussion?
Carpenter?
Yes.
Berge?
Yes.
McCall?
Yes.
Shear?
Yes.
McKellar?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Fisher.
Yep.
Well, good evening, everybody. Great to see you, and thank you for approving the out-of-state travel, not only for our employees, but also for our students studying early childhood. I'm going to send around some more thank you notes that were directed to me by the students that will be going down to Texas to represent the region. So they thank you as board members for supporting them in this endeavor. We're very excited about that. I know Pat is going to talk about a lot of competitions and a lot of success from our students and staff. But did you notice the grass was cut for the first time? And spring has sprung, hopefully. But thank our custodial staff, Terry and Larry, and Gary is here on the night shift for what they do. It was really refreshing. I was at a meeting at the Haggerty Center and came back this afternoon to see that fresh cut. Is refreshing because I think we all waited for it. So that was great. This day has been a big day. It's been a great day. It's been an exciting day. We started with our Chef Darrow, and staff and students and our leadership team at about 6:15 a.m. over at our Career Tech Center for our annual staff appreciation breakfast. And it was just a real honor to serve that and have that available. We had a very good turnout. Jason and I, our job was the omelet stop. So if he smells like an omelet and I smell like an omelet, I'm very sorry, Jan. For that. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun, and really one small token of appreciation for our staff. There's something going viral on YouTube right now, and I know probably our staff has had a chance to see a video that our students and staff put together. And it's called a Happy Video. It's got over 3,000 hits on YouTube in less than 1 week. And so we wanted to share this with the board tonight so you can have a chance to see this video and it'll put a smile on your face because it's really well done and it's to a tune that is apparently very popular right now. And they did a great job. So if we want to take a look at that, turn around and Jason's going to ramp it up for us.
Like I don't care, baby, by the way.
I serve on the Michigan Community Service Commission. We had our quarterly meeting last week in Lansing. And these are folks from all over the state of Michigan, from various occupations. Ford Motor Company's vice president is on that commission. And I was happened to be watching this on my cell phone because it just came out. And the chairman of the commission, she came up to me and she said, "Can we show this to start our meeting?" I said, "Certainly." And that was pretty cool, and that's the way we started our meeting. And it was really neat and a lot of compliments. We asked, they're so happy. And I just explained to them, you know, our students really make the selection, which is important, to come to the tech center. And they're coming, making the decision, choosing. And that really goes a long way when someone is studying something they're passionate about and an experience like we have over at the Career Tech Center. And so that led into our award ceremony at the state level. And this was to award 5 volunteers from the state of Michigan, from the Michigan Community Service Commission. It's a big deal. The senior VISTA volunteer, AmeriCorps volunteer, resides in Mesick. This phenomenal grandmother is 83 years old. She goes in every morning and reads to those children in Mesick. I mean, stuff like that is really good stuff. At the end of the ceremony, about an hour long, Governor Snyder walked up to the podium and spoke, talking about volunteerism, talking about the volunteers who won the award, talking about the Community Service Commission. I happened to be sitting in the front row, and he looked over at me after he got done with that, and he said, "Great things are happening in this state. Great things are happening at the Traverse Bay Area Intermediate School District." And lo and behold, after that, he came up and shook my hand. I was like, "That's pretty cool." And after that, after he was done, a gentleman approached me and said, "Could I talk to you?" And I said, "Certainly." He said, "I'm so-and-so, and forgive me for not having the name, but I'm a reporter with the Detroit Free Press. And this morning I spent with the governor in his office, and I took a photo of a trout that the TBA-ISD welding program provided, the students provided for them. And we're going to be running a feature story in Sunday's Detroit Free Press on May 11th. So I spent about 10 or 15 minutes interview with him. So that's what we have to look forward to this Sunday, is the picture of our trout that Rick Mathis, who's in attendance tonight, and our students presented to him last year. So that was really cool. And I think that reflects for all of the programs and services that we provide for the 5-county region. Our presentation this month will be on our Marzano evaluation system. It's timely because this is an action item number 3 on the agenda. And so Jason's going to provide some information on that system. This is gaining traction. We are making significant investments in this evaluation system, and it is very good stuff, especially as they just today passed out of the House Education Committee an evaluation bill that will impact teachers and administrators regarding student growth. So we'll watch that through the process. Right now it's 25% growth, as you did my evaluation last month, based on 25% growth. They've decided to wait until 3 years out to move that up to 40%. This is big change for us, but we are very solid in our research on Marzano and that evaluation system. And I can tell you, from going around to all the districts, our team, and presenting our services and our general education budget, that they are very appreciative of our commitment, because they could not do this on their own. To have a system of this nature, it would be very difficult for individual districts to try and do this on their own.
Are we funding the?
We are.
Pretty much.
We are. Not only the professional development, and it's a great question.
It's what, $200,000 to $300,000?
That's correct. And it's also the eye observation part, which is the computer-based approach to working with that evaluation system. It's a big commitment.
Now, there were some districts that haven't jumped into it yet, right?
We have 2, but they are coming. They're coming. but 14 of 16 are in. Great question. Region 2, which is the Northern Michigan Superintendents Association, 68 of us from throughout Northern Michigan, met last Friday. We're sending Governor Snyder a letter. We're tired. We're tired of the debate between Common Core and Smarter Balanced Assessment that the state is engaged right now in. The State Department of Education has weighed in to support Smarter Balanced Assessment and abandon the meeting. And now the legislature is weighing in saying, no, we aren't going to fund this right now. We want to put a delay on this and bring back the MEAP. So it is a political situation where if we don't have funding for the Smarter Balanced Assessment, which is essentially an online assessment that is really testing and assessing 21st century skills, problem solving, critical thinking, communication. And so the Region 2 superintendents drafted a letter last week to the governor because the governor came out in support of Smarter Balanced Assessment and the legislature is not. So this is going to get very interesting. We are sending the letter to the governor directly, copied to the reps and the senators, copied to the other 9 regions in the state of Michigan with our position. And that position is to support the Smarter Balanced Assessment in grades 3 through 8, and to support continuing the ACT assessment for 11th graders. And we had a long discussion as superintendents on this. In the end, we reached consensus, and everyone agreed that that would be our position to move our state forward. If it will help, we certainly hope so. I had a good meeting with Senator Walker after our last monthly meeting. We had a very good conversation. He is term limited, so this is an important conversation to have as we go through and continue through the appropriations process with the state. One of my primary concerns, once again, was no increase to Section 81 funding, which is the line item for intermediate school districts. My position with him was, we are being asked as ISDs across the state to do more and more and more. We are taking on more and more and more. Tech services, business services. You think about the Education Achievement Authority and the potential that we may be the reform office for local districts. And so we're being asked to do more and more, and it certainly would be appreciated if we could see a little bit of increase in Section 81 funding. Because
What does he say?
Pardon me?
What does he say?
We had a really good conversation because it's a good question. The confusion was it's $64 million statewide that the line item is, and what they did to create a best practices line item for ISDs, like the locals have, they took $2 million out of that 64, dropped it down to 62, and called that $2 million the best practice. So now the recommendation is to delete the best practice, $2 million, and put it back in, bringing it back to where it was a year ago. That's not an increase. Is that clear? Yeah, that's not an increase. So we're working through that. We're working through that communication, and I'm joined by ISD superintendents across the state. We all have a common message, and we're working through that. But we had a very good conversation. The general education budget meetings, as I mentioned, we have concluded. It now is in the hands of local districts, where they, by June 1st, have to hold a vote and consider a resolution formally to either pass or not pass our general ed budget. This is a state requirement that we do this, and it is now in their hands. Remember, that general education budget is prepared with variables that we don't know, like Section 81. So it was a challenge for us, but we went out and presented those, and I'm happy to report that the Suttons Bay Board last week passed. They were the first district to pass the budget. So we're hopeful. It's a non-binding vote. If they do vote no, the districts, that they're asked to give us the reasons why. But it is non-binding. It is a formality, but we are required to do this by the state. And let me end with this. Another celebration will take place next Tuesday night. It's our annual TVA ISD recognition night. We begin at 5 o'clock with Some hors d'oeuvres. We start the ceremony at 5:30. We'll be honoring all the retiring staff members at 5:30. And we'll be honoring increments of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35-year employees. And we will also be presenting the Standard School Award to one TBA ISD employee at that award ceremony. So if you could make it, it's next Tuesday, May 13th, 5 o'clock, and then 5:30 is the formal ceremony. Usually lasts about 1 hour. So if you can attend, that would be great. And we look forward to that celebration. We'll have many more as we go through the course of May and June within the organization. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. First action item is a resolution to approve the superintendent evaluation and contract extension through June 30, 2017.
I so move.
Support. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Carpenter. Berge.
Yes.
McCall.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
McKellar.
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
And Fisher.
Yes, and for your information, Jim had a work emergency, so.
Previous one was, said he was on call.
Yeah. A resolution to approve renewal of software licensing.
Yes, this is our annual renewal of our software license through CDWG. And this is for Office, Windows, and other core applications used throughout the district.
Second.
Discussion? Go ahead.
Berge.
Yes.
McCall.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
McKellar.
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
And Fisher.
Yes. Marzano Comprehensive Evaluation System Contract.
This is, as mentioned, year 2 in our commitment for a region-wide evaluation system. We had over 13 trainings for local school districts and personnel this year. A lot of supplies, as well as the eye observation electronic tool or instrument that is used. And this is, as I mentioned, big change, but this is our commitment to not only meet the state requirement, and Marzano is one of 4 that is allowed by the state, but our commitment to the region.
When you approve this contract, is it a yearly contract for approximately the same amount of money, or is it sliding down?
We hope, that's a great question, we hope that it would slide down, but this amount is very similar to what it was this current year. And it's,
So you do it for the current year, and once the system is functioning, what are you paying for? Just
yeah, that should decrease as we build our own capacity as an organization to coach, to develop our teachers and administrators, but we will have turnover, and there will be professional development that is needed. The eye observation is something we would have to redo every year, but definitely these first years, it's a higher ramp-up cost to try and get this launched, and we will get it launched.
so it's like continuing education in a lot of professions today. We have to continually roll it over, particularly if you're improving, adding staff every year.
That's correct. That's correct.
So staff members that come out of school districts that haven't had it are going to be starting to scratch right from one.
Based on what the state does in this evaluation bill and how that goes through the House and the Senate, and as they blend that and consider different ideas, who knows what they may come up with and what that might look like. Currently, right now, in the current bill that came out of the committee, Marzano is one of the 4. But in our research, we find this to be the best.
At the local district, I mean, I've been getting feedback from certain people, particularly administrators who feel overwhelmed by what's coming down the line. I don't know any the rest of you talk. Is there going to be money that may go back to some of the local districts to help them Was this the physical overload of their administrators?
We have not discussed this at this time. It has not been a topic of discussion at our superintendent's level. Obviously, the current fund balance is always a topic with our superintendents. It's certainly something that may come up. We know that there's overload there. We know that the requirement to evaluate annually placed a heavy burden on administrators who evaluate.
It's more comprehensive too.
It certainly
takes
is.
a lot more time and a lot more scratching.
And it's important that we get this right. It's important because changes and reforms in terms of seniority and the importance of evaluation, layoff, recall, seniority, all based on performance, not years. So we need to get this right, and we're taking that, we hope, at the right pace, taking it very serious for all of the professionals within the organization.
For the benefit of the audience, the cost of the software licensing, the first action item was $25,985, and to this Marzano contract was $270,500. And let's move on to the purchase, the resolution to approve purchase of computer parts and lab equipment.
Yes.
Oh, we didn't do that on Marzano?
We need to do Marzano.
My bad. Any more discussion? Now is there any more discussion?
Berge,
Yes.
McCall.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
McKellar.
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
And Fisher.
Yep. Okay, now the resolution to approve purchase of computer parts and lab equipment.
Yes, and this would be from C-High Computer Products Incorporated. This is off the statewide REMC bid. And as you mentioned, it's for server room upgrades. It'll increase our storage capacity, and it's also for lab equipment. The total for this is $84,794.
That's different than what's in our,
You should have an updated resolution.
okay.
Yeah, it says revised on top.
Oh,
I'd make the motion.
I'll second.
further discussion? Go ahead.
Berge.
Yes.
McCall.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
McKellar.
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
And Fisher.
Yep. Resolution to approve iMac and iPad lab equipment.
Yes, and this will be from Apple Incorporated. Again, this was off of the REMC bid, which is a statewide bid. And it will be for graphic arts and also for new campus.
Okay, for the iMac equipment, it's $41,040, and the iPad equipment, it's
$29,740 or $28,740.
$28,740. Okay. All right.
Move approval. Support.
Discussion?
Berge.
Yes.
McCall.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
McKellar.
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
And Fisher.
Yes. And finally, resolution to approve Arnell window replacement.
Yes, we received 2 bids, and the low bidder was By the Bay Glass, and the amount there is $29,200.
What was the next?
Northern Michigan Glass, $33,965.
Do we know anything about the low bidder?
Yes, our architect has worked with them before.
Okay.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Go ahead.
Berge.
Yes.
McCall.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
McKellar.
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
And Fisher.
Yes. Public comment. Anyone wish to address the board? The microphone is over here. If you would step forward, identify yourself, and someplace in our policy manual we have a time limit, and I look at it every once in a while, but I've never had to use it, so have at it.
Hi, I'm Megan Zell. I am an occupational occupational therapist, finishing my 7th year here at the ISD. And we've been at this for over a year, and that time you have heard from so many individuals why your employees deserve to be compensated monetarily and treated fairly. I think that you know that. You probably don't need to hear it again. I certainly don't, I get it. These are wonderful people, wonderful employees. You probably don't need to be told that people are angry, disappointed, disheartened. That many are living paycheck to paycheck and not because of excessive spending habits. You have heard all of this again and again. So as I come to you tonight, I have found myself trying to understand the position that you are in. As the leaders of this organization, it seems that you are in a very unique position to demonstrate your appreciation and show your respect to the people in the trenches. I have not been a boss, have not made the decisions that affect the well-being of so many individuals and families. The only parallel that I can draw to my life is in my role as a parent. In this role where I provide for someone and make financial decisions, it brings me great joy to find that I have an extra $10, $20, or $100 to give my daughter that one little treasure that she's had her eye on. It brings me joy to be able to resolve an issue with her so that we both feel good about it, to grant her another half hour before bedtime, or to help her complete a school project. It feels good. It feels personally satisfying. It's much more difficult and weighs on me much more when I'm not able to allow her some of the little things that cost extra, tennis lessons, a musical instrument, or the like. And so I find it hard to relate to the stance that you seem to be taking in this negotiation process. Certainly my family examples are small gestures compared to providing a raise for about 250 employees. But with the size of the current fund balance and a request for less than a 2% raise, they seem to be proportional comparisons. I think of what a wonderful and gratifying experience it would be to be able to offer great compensation for someone's hard work. I imagine that it would be so uplifting, not only to be able to do so financially, but also to be able to offer other niceties without at all compromising the stability of this organization. I can't imagine a mindset of trying to whittle away at the few perks that are left and trying to get more for less. I can't imagine working to create a more hostile environment. Tonight I ask that you really take a step back. Take a balcony view, if you will. I ask you to come to the table to negotiate, not with a plan already predetermined. I ask you to come to the table and look our family and our negotiating team in the eyes, not negotiate through a mediator. If you can't do this, it seems that you are admitting to yourself that something you are doing just isn't right. It seems to me that today is a great day to look at what Tbaisd has to offer its employees and think, wow, I can do something really great for these people. I could offer support to them and show them how much I appreciate them. Tbaisd could become the best educational system to work for in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
My name's Linda Baines. I'm a school social worker here. I work 3 days at the Adult Work Center, and then this year I'm a day at TC Central. I have to say I really love what I do. I have a great job. I work with wonderful people. It's very satisfying. I don't have anything like as eloquent as what you just heard, but it seems to me, I sent a letter to you, Mike, and also to Joe. It happened to be a copy of what I had shared with our negotiating team about, you know, just some things that really I don't understand about, you know, if we are the best educational system in the world, you know, then why are we not, you know, compensated like the best educational employees in the world? You know, if I heard correctly, you talked about a $64 million budget that from the state, and that they've taken 2,000 out. Yeah, 2 million. Yeah, my error. And then you hope they put it back in, but it's not an increase. It's just putting back what you already had, which really seems much like what is happening with our negotiations. And that's perplexing to me. I can't remember the exact number of dollars that have been saved this year by us not receiving, you know, our step increases. You know, it just seems so like not right. I mean, it just doesn't fit with the fibers of my being. And the other thing is, you know, like the single parent family with a child. Well, apparently they're not a family. They're just two people living together, from what I gather. So, and I also understand that if I have the information correctly, that it wouldn't cost, you know, the ISD any more money to make that switch so that they could then be recognized as a family. I don't comprehend that. If it doesn't cost anything, what's the big deal? You know, it would be helping out, you know, what you call your family. You know, so as we talk about families, and I hear it every year, you know, and I really feel, you know, in the beginning of the school year, you know, connected as a family, an ISD family, I just, it seems to me that this one at this particular time is dysfunctional. And I don't understand why, if there's a fact finder that comes in and says this is what would be equitable and fair, and it's ignored. So again, you know, I come before you, you know, asking for you to be fair with us. And so, again, you know, I appreciate your time, your attention, and giving me an opportunity to speak from my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
My name is Erin Graham, and I'm a speech-language pathologist, finishing up my 8th year working for Tbaisd. As I attended the previous 2 board meetings, I listened to my colleagues invite each of you to step into our buildings, to talk with us and learn about what it is that we do every day. We are, after all, the people working on the front lines of this organization for which you make important decisions. I have asked around to various itinerant groups and have yet to hear that this invitation has been accepted. I realize each of us are very busy this time of year. I can certainly relate. However, as dedicated members of this board, as the individuals who have the decision-making power regarding the livelihood of this organization's employees, one would hope that this become a priority. To provide some insight, I would like to share some experiences of the daily work that we, the speech pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, school social workers, teacher consultants, and teachers do as employees of this organization which you represent. We participate in crisis teams, regularly responding to students with extremely difficult behaviors, such as biting, pulling hair, spitting, and beyond. We work as a team to protect our students, ourselves, and each other, all while maintaining the safety and integrity of the students that we work with. As you can imagine, this is no easy task. We teach our visually impaired students to read and write, as well as to confidently navigate through their new school buildings. In order to take advantage of every learning opportunity during school hours, we complete progress notes, lesson plans, and Medicaid billing after our own children go to bed at night. We meet the cheerleading squad after school hours to learn specific cheers in order to program communication devices so that our nonverbal students can participate in the upcoming pep rally, just like everyone else. We walk families through the delicate process of accepting an educational diagnosis of autism, developmental delays, cognitive and emotional impairments in their precious children. We spend countless hours researching and learning new therapy techniques in order to effectively meet the individual needs of each student on our caseload. We problem solve, we challenge, encourage, and empower those around us. We strive for excellence. We celebrate progress, we laugh, we cry, we struggle, we fall down, but we jump right back up again because we never give up. We need to see from you and your actions that we are valued. Encourage and inspire us to continue to tackle the uphill battles of public education. Provide what is fair and equitable compared to other district employees through wages, insurance benefits, and sincere open communication. If financial compensation was beyond the realm of possibilities, I would better understand your position. However, the monies available to pay us are substantial, partly due to the financial sacrifices which we, the TBA ISD employees, have agreed to relinquish in the past. I believe in our mission statement. You certainly have many extraordinary individuals, and more importantly, groups of individuals, working tirelessly to do what is right for our children, even when doing the right thing isn't always easy. TBA ISD employees have the knowledge, dedication, and drive to be the best educational organization in the world, and we deserve to be treated as such. By choosing to provide fair and equitable compensation, morale will be high. Your current employees will remain inspired to perform at a world-class level, and you will continue to attract top-level talent to this organization. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Erin.
Hi, I'm Tina Shellick. I'm a speech therapist. I spoke last time, and I wasn't going to speak this time, but I just wanted to make a few things. I know there's a lot of questions in your eyes, and especially you, Joe, regarding that fund, the equitable, fair and equitable compensation package. And I know last time you specifically asked me and Julie about the fact finding and what the fact finder recommended and would we be in support of that. And I know that you guys made some movement regarding that, and we appreciate that. What we found through our meeting with our lovely people here is that that's just a small part of what we're negotiating here. So we recognize that you tried to make movement and it's close to what the fact finder recommended, but we also know that the district has saved thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars throughout this year by us not having a contract. And I realize that there's state law and there's all this law about not being able to do retro pay, but I'm also a speech language pathologist that knows about semantics, and that retro pay and off scale stipend can be kind of used similarly. That was one thing I wanted to state. I think what we found when meeting with with my colleagues was some of the distrust, particularly with the language changes that were offered to us that seemed to be maybe just some cleanup language, but it is quite a bit more than that. So I'm not sure if the board members know exactly about the different language changes, but you know, we would be happy to meet with you to discuss why we are concerned about the cleanup language changes. I also know that last time we were asked if we knew that there was a state law about the child employing a child, and we are well aware of that. Well aware of that. And we know that now that starting in January 1st that you're not able to view that. However, they made a law starting January 1st, so up until then, it was at our discretion to view them how we wanted to. And so we probably could have compensated our employee and child members better. So now we're just asking it obviously for the aggregate, and I know that you guys keep, you know, putting that aside and don't want to do that, but it is still something that is very close to our hearts. So the last thing I just wanted to say is I wanted to thank Erin for her description of the special education, and I do know that there is one particular person sitting around that table that does know exactly what our special education people do, and we often hear coming to these meetings, and we have presentations from Career Tech, and they're doing fabulous things there. That robot thing last time was so cool. But you know, when you're in Lansing and you hear how things are changing up here, one thing you don't hear is how wonderful it is that the Oak Park crew might have brought a kid through crisis management and still made him feel appreciated, or helped a family deal with a child who won't get on the bus, and they might follow the bus to the person's home and come back. So those are the things that we don't hear, that aren't in the paper, that aren't down in Lansing, that I think that's really important. So I just wanted to clarify some of those question marks I saw in your head. Thanks.
Wait, Tina, you're on the bargaining team, are you not?
Yep.
And do I assume that because of the presence of everyone here tonight that there has been a vote? And
there has been a vote.
And you've declined our latest proposal?
Yes, 95% resoundingly said no.
95% said no?
Yes.
Okay.
And we had a very good turnout.
As I understand the process, and at this point, the bargaining team, your bargaining team will be sending to our bargaining team a list of things, including those language issues, that our bargaining team can then respond to?
Correct. The language issues were brought by your bargaining team.
Well, you mentioned them in your presentation tonight, so.
Correct. So that's why I brought them up tonight, because I wasn't sure that it was a board thing about the language changes or how that came about, but it was pretty much a shock to us.
But for clarity, if your bargaining team could come back with something in writing that our bargaining team then could share with us.
Absolutely.
And then we know, because, for example, on the wages, as I understand it, what we have offered you is 5.49%, and the fact finder was 5.50.
Correct.
Okay.
The fact finder did offer it in a different way than you guys did, though. So
well, the aggregate, though, is my math wrong? I mean, if that's wrong, then we have to have another discussion.
The amount is correct, and
okay.
As I spoke to our members, math's not my thing, but
well, it's not mine either, but at least I can get from 5.49 to 5.50.
Except that the fact finder recommended it in a different, like 1.5% the first year, 2.25% the second year, to try to, and that does change things a little bit in terms of how we would be compensated, since we are 95% through the school year without a contract.
It's cumulative. If you can actually add percentages and get the correct math. So, because, you know, like 1.5, then 2 is not the same as 2, and then 1.5.
Well, if you could, those are the sorts of things, if you could outline that for us. The second thing, as I understand it, on the health insurance, I'm not sure about this January 1st stuff, but just so you understand, as I understand the state law, we are capped at what we can pay for one person, we are capped at what we can pay for 2 people, and we are capped at what we can pay for 3 and more.
Correct.
Now, we get into the semantics of 3 and more, that has a family label. It could also be called 3 and more, because apparently if there's only 2, you're not a family,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna call it 3 or more.
Mhm.
All right, that issue, it seems to me, is something that the legislature has to resolve. You have asked us, however, to aggregate all of that, and then, as I'm told about the math, the people that are new teachers, probably are not married yet, many of them, would probably end up paying more. And the people that would like to be considered a family, but there's just the single parent with a child, then they pay a lot more because of the cap.
Mm-hmm.
So you tell us, aggregate it, and then because it's not going to cost us anymore, according to Linda. And I guess if you do the math, she's probably right. But as I understand it, if we screw that thing up during the course of the year, and we have somebody that goes from a 1 to a 2 or to a 3, and we don't catch it, that as a school district, we are subject to a really hefty fine. And if that's true, then as a board member, we have to consider the policy with respect to that potential event.
Right, and we understand that too. And we have talked with your bargaining team about that very thing and how we could meet regularly and how we might be able to offset that a little bit. Because, you know, obviously we don't want you to be fined either. So, but there are ways to go about that without directly saying, absolutely no, let's not even consider it, let's, you know, put it on the side. The other thing is that, this is a personal thing for me, and I'll just take that on, is I am disturbed that we're more concerned about people we may hire than the people we have in our organization. And the people in our organization have spoken loudly that they're in agreement to this. So we keep hearing from Mr. Hill that it might affect the singles, that the new people that we hire, I'm concerned about the new people we might hire because they're typically seniors. But we have 240 people that have spoken and are concerned about us as a family.
Fair enough. I trust that in your written summation that you're, I think, going to provide us as the result of the vote tonight,
Mm-hmm.
that you can outline for our bargaining team just exactly what you mean, and then they, of course, we are the ones that set the policy for the bargaining team. We're not going to be bargaining tonight or any other time as a board. One final thought. I guess that is my final thought. So I will look forward through our bargaining team to receive that, and we as a board want to get this done, trust me. I love having you all here, but I'd rather have it behind us. We will comply with state law, I can tell you that. We have to. And, but thank you again for coming tonight, Chief.
Thank you.
And I have the privilege of teaching preschoolers with autism spectrum disorders at Oak Park. My journey has been filled with many wonderful adventures. Fresh out of high school, I enlisted in the United States Air Force. A bold move for a small town Benton girl from a family of 5 kids. Work hard and perseverance are part of my stock for my family. As luck would have it, I was recruited and worked for the President of the United States in Washington, D.C. The cream of the crop out Sledge League. We were part of an elite group of military officers and enlisted personnel. Love, marriage, and 3 wonderful sons living in northern Michigan, surrounded by the place where I am sure God takes his vacation, is now called home. Working as a teaching assistant at Westwoods Elementary School brought me into the life of autism spectrum disorders. Inspired by a fully included 3rd grader with autism, I dedicated myself to pursue my first degree and become a special education teacher, specializing in students with autism and cognitive impairments. I immersed myself in TBA ISD made sure I knew exactly where I was getting myself into. And I jumped in and I never looked back. This is it. This is the heartbeat of educating exceptional students. It took me 7 years, a few bumps in the road. The remarkable TBA ISD staff felt exactly where I should be. Today, 7 years later, I am sure I made the right decision. I have the privilege of working with a team of remarkable individuals. This is the elite squad of special education. Students with autism spectrum disorders have deficits in 3 specific domains: communication, socialization, and behavior. We guide students in a variety of ways to have a functional way to communicate, socialize, and have opportunities to improve behavior that is appropriate. Some of these strategies include social stories, augmentative devices, visuals, hundreds of repetitions of practice, and peer-to-peer opportunities. I see remarkable students, families, and an incredible educational team finding ways to increase communication and socializing appropriately with others. It's hard for me to understand the many obstacles our students have to overcome every day of their lives, and then compare the team of professionals seeking to communicate with one another, only to understand that not all are joining the communication table. Fact-finding, mediation, unfair labor practices, and helping understand why. I see 2-person families, yes, families, being told they are not a family, but a couple. A child and a parent and a child, a couple. I don't understand. If anybody on this board is married with 1 child and tragedy happened, how would you feel if you were told you're no longer a family? Perhaps the definition of what is considered a family is now being interpreted differently, but no matter how, this must be corrected for our 2-person families. I appreciate the professionalism of our negotiating team and would like to acknowledge their hard work on our behalf. This TBA ISD family of professionals are not asking for the moon. We are proud of who we are and what we do every day. We were #1 in completing Medicaid billing for the 2011 and 2012 school year. #1 in the state of Michigan. Many of our dedicated staff complete their logging after hours, on weekends, or risk of attending Medicaid jail to complete their entries. I'm not sure how much money is attached to the funding, but I'm pretty sure it's significant. In closing, I would like to invite any and all school board members to visit Oak Park for 1 day. Watch our staff in action. Undercover Boss is a show that puts the boss beside the people that get the job done. You are welcome anytime, any day. Roll up your sleeves and be ready for some good hard work. Joy a celebration of even the smallest accomplishment, problem solving, teamwork, tears, nurturing students and families, and reassuring a frightened student and never hearing the words, "Sorry, it's not my job." To quote a great line from the movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, "The man is the head, but the woman is the neck. We both need each other." Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. If I come over there, do I have to change diapers?
Yes.
And not mine either, but.
Adults and big kids too.
Don't look at me when you say diapers. Well, hi, I'm Stephen Krieger. I'm one of the EI teachers, which most people say I'm emotionally impaired, or I teach emotionally impaired children at New Campus, where we walk in every day with a smile on our face, and times we leave with a tear in our eye, but we still show up every single morning. And this is what happens when you're close to the end of the speeches, because everything that I was going to say is now going to just come down to this line, because this professional crew has basically said everything. And I'm going to go back, before we did the open comment piece on commitment. I'm in my 34th year of education, or being in the educational field. I started and my hair was darker. I started my career in Colorado Springs, taught 2 years on the Air Force Academy. I've seen school districts basically across the country. I've seen school boards that work. I've seen teaching teams that have worked. I've also seen the other side. I've seen so many contracts and so many negotiations that I still believe there is hope. There is always ways to work things out, and it comes down to understanding. It's not so much that we communicate to expect a reply. We communicate for an understanding. And the comment that stuck with me this evening as I'm ripping everything up because I'm hearing everything else coming through here is the commitment. And I can tell you also as a delegate for our union committee that I spend 2 weekends a school year in Lansing talking to other school districts throughout our state. And it's a common theme, commitment. How are we committed to the students? What are we doing, or how can the school board or my partners help me help them? And I heard Michael comment earlier about the commitment. I've seen committed staffs. I've seen committed school boards across the country. I have no doubt in my mind from the experiences that I've had that I see it just as high as ever on both sides for TBA. And it's a constant thing. The new campus team is about as committed as you can get. We tend to joke around saying that to us, teaching is a full contact sport. Because there are times we'll get kicked, spit. We've seen kids taken out in shackles or, maced at one time. But we're committed. We stick with it. And being a delegate and meeting and talking to these individuals as much as I do as a delegate for them, I can tell you with all sincerity that this group of people out of 34 years is probably one of the most committed group of professionals and individuals who have that one goal in mind. What can we do to help those students who come to us? How can we send them back better than what they came to us at? That's all I want to throw in. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. You're not headed to the podium?
No, I don't get my daughter.
Anyone else? Well, we're going to get there. One way or the other, we're going to get there. So thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
The 2014 Rural Library Excellence Award. So we're super excited. We were just in Mackinac Island to receive the
How'd you get there?
award. On one ferry that was the only ferry that could make it through the ice in the harbor. So we're really excited about the services and commitment we're
That's
able
great.
to yes, community. So.
Good.
Maybe you'll get a new library.
Speaking of libraries, there was an article in the Free Press that the Birmingham Library wants a $21 million bond issue. Yeah, interesting article about libraries. Okay. Welcome back.
Thank you. I have 5 items to report on tonight. First of all, some TBA ISD program end-of-year activities. The Adult Work Center prom is on Thursday night at Grand Traverse Resort. Students will have dinner and dancing and an overnight and breakfast in the morning. Justin Vandermeer, Lynn Bauman, Deb McCall, Robin Jones, and Linda Forster are the staff committee members for that activity. Adult Work Center graduation will take place on May 28th at 10 a.m. at Milliken Auditorium. And the committee members working on graduation are Justin Vandermeer, who is MC again this year, Rena Spencer, Marty Ann Gwinney, and Linda Forster. ACE 2A graduation takes place at 9 a.m. on Friday, June 6th, and that is being held at the State Theater with a reception following at 120 Boardman Avenue, the office location of the ACE programs. Teachers Michael Libby and Ben Laird and teaching assistants Linda Lyle, Amy Mater, and Deb Risk are making those arrangements while the students are taking care of food and decorations. New Campus School this year does not have graduates, but they are marking the end of the year with the field day and picnic. And Tammy Kitzmiller is organizing with the entire staff, taking on responsibilities for that. In our younger grades, the students students in classrooms for moderate cognitive impairment are celebrating the end of the year in a variety of ways. At Central Grade in Traverse City, Audrey Straits and Shannon Eno's classrooms received a visit from Wings of Wonder following their reading units on spring and birds. Lorraine Laird's middle school classroom will travel to Grand Rapids on May 21st for an overnight and a visit to John Ball Zoo and Meyer Gardens. And we extend our thanks to the Knights of Columbus for financing that trip. And in May, Tyler Shell's high school program will visit the Leland Outdoor Center. And finally, one last mention this year of the peer-to-peer program at West Senior High School, because it has been such a success and has had such an impact on so many people. There was a banquet at the end of the year that included the students in the AP psychology class who were the mentors and the students in our ASD classroom, and it included their families as well, with video and pictures and speeches and not many dry eyes. And in the words of Principal Joe Tbaisd, plant a seed and get out of good people's way. So at West Senior High next year, rather than having students participate from their resource hour, there will be an ASD mentoring class that is offered as an elective to expand the program, and that's very, very exciting for people. So we are really grateful for the support of the assistant principals, Dan Oberski, Charles Kolbas, and Joe Tbaisd, because they did see the program through some very difficult times when people talk about students not fitting in a traditional way. They were very patient. Teachers Dan Rice from TCAPS, and they also know they are indebted to the hard work of Diana Longton, Aaron Smythe, Scott Shue, Becky Goodwin, Amy Moore, Rachel Jones, and teaching assistants Deb Waples, Bruce Rupert, Greg Meyer, and Peter Batham, and under the leadership of Deb Nelson. Marianne Swank, on a second item, has received a grant award in the amount of $3,000 from the Michigan Association of Intermediate School District Administrators, and she was offered, because of the quality of her grant, an additional $2,000 for MTSS training for a total of $5,000. So that expenditure period is through September 30th, and a final report due October 30th. I'd like to acknowledge some psychologists for their service to state professional organizations. Hannah Barrow, who is a school psychologist intern, currently serves as a conference chairperson for the Michigan Association of School Psychologists, and based on colleagues' input following the recent Critical Issues Conference, she has the personality and the organizational efforts to offer a really good conference. Marvin Nordine was recently elected president, so I thank them both for their efforts at their professional associations. Ongoing initiatives, the MTSS group is collaborating with representatives from both general and special education, working with technology to develop an efficient way of communicating, an efficient electronic way to get around some of those glitches in communication when we have so many people out in districts. So they're beginning their efforts on that. And in an effort to provide both our staff and the LEAs with research-based guidance and intervening with behavior problems, Roger Arvo, Marvin Nordine, Judy Miller, Marianne Swank, and Miriam Bauer are rewriting our behavior intervention guidelines, our BIGs. And this time we have expanded that to include descriptions of Tier 1 and Tier 2 supports, which are less intensive than what we have traditionally done, and that is called those Tier 3 supports. Any questions?
Lots of stuff.
What day was graduation again?
For which program? For AWC, it is May 28th,
Okay.
10 o'clock, Milliken.
And
ACE,
June 6th is what
and
time?
ACE 2 is June 6th at the State Theater, which is 9 a.m., 9 a.m. That is, I believe there are 11 from AWC, and I believe there are 3 or 4 from the ACE program, students graduating.
Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
First, I just want to thank you for allowing our students to attend those national competitions. That's a great big deal for them to go and take part in that. And after winning at the state level, being able to take their skills on to the national level, that's great, and I thank you for that. I hope you enjoyed the happy video. That came about from a group of staff talking about ways to market our center. And I think it was pretty much consensus that our students truly feel that way within the building. And Tom Mills really spearheaded that, put a group of students together from the film and new media. Tom is from the visual arts program, but he's got a marketing background. And we have just continually heard from local districts that are running video in their school to one of the assisted living centers today asking if we could potentially help work with their community on putting something similar together for them. So Mike mentioned upwards of 3,000. I think it's been about 4,000 hits on YouTube almost to this day. And that's not the Facebook stuff that's going on and all the other areas it's been shared. That's just within the YouTube world. So I'm told by our marketer that it's now dead in the student world and it's dead in the kids world as cool as it is, and it's living in the adult world. So it's no longer considered a cool thing out there, and we can move on to the next thing. However, adults seem to enjoy it. Just a quick shout out to our power equipment program. They are working on donating another tractor that was donated to them after fixing that to Traverse City Little League, along with 2 boats that they prepared for the Boy Scouts. One of those boats was paid for by the Boy Scouts at a reduced rate, but also another one was just going to allow their membership to go out and fish on the lake. So the Boy Scouts were extremely thankful for that, and that program tends to be working very well with that group of students. We also had 2 Information Tech Academy students. They passed the CompTIA Security Plus, but they did it within the school year. Typically that's something that they will test out of in the summer, but these 2 students, Keegan Cavanaugh from Kingsley and Travis Bishop from Traverse City Central, both accomplished that. Traverse City Bishop, on a quick note, has 2 years of perfect attendance within the program, so he hasn't missed a day of school since he's been in the Career Tech Center from his junior year. The Film and New Media program, which had students put together that, the editing in that Happy video was unbelievable, and that was done by a young lady in Film and New Media. We also had 3 students that took first place in a video contest that was sponsored by the Value Health Partners, which is a collaborative of 8 leading health systems in the state of Michigan, which includes Munson Medical. The video was on stroke awareness that they created. There were over 90 videos that were competing in this contest, and theirs was chosen first. So it will be highlighted in a campaign throughout Michigan in the month of May, and that was first out of 90 entries within that program. So they knocked it out of the park with that one. We also had a couple programs down at Mite's, our welding program, who Mike talked about with the trout that they presented to Governor Snyder. If you get an opportunity, they designed deer sculptures out of nuts and bolts that were donated to the program. Those deer took first place at the regional competition in Best of Show, and at the state competition it took second place in their category, which was Group Project Raw Iron, and they're trying to determine whether or not that's something they might enter in the art prize for this upcoming year. We're going to leave that up to the students to decide that. And then our skilled trades program took first place in the state with their mass production of a chair, which I'll tell you a little bit of a story about, but they also took first place with that in applied technology category. This is a chair from the State Theater. So the State Theater came to our skilled trades program last year and asked for some help. They, in their venue in the summer, oftentimes had portable movie theaters up, and so they had asked our program to put 2 to 3 chairs on pieces of plywood that could be connected so that they could bring those to those venues so people could have the opportunity to view in the theater. Well, they left a semi-truck full of a bunch of these seats, and our students were looking at them and thinking, boy, they sure are more comfortable than your typical desk. And so the students created a desk within the classroom, and they have now a set of these chairs, about 25 of them that they've created with a flip desktop on it. I do have a picture I'm going to pass out that you guys can pass around and look at. But that's the project that took first place down there at Mite's, and was all recycled, all reused, and all stuff from the State Theater. So we're pretty proud of that. And then lastly, our awards night for our students is, I believe it's May 27th. It's the Tuesday after Memorial Day at the Grand Traverse Resort. And that's where we will award our students with outstanding student awards and any scholarships that they may have earned themselves throughout the school year. That's all I have, unless anyone has questions. And then I'll just set this up here, and you folks can take a look at it if it wants to. Thank you.
What time
Thanks,
is that awards night, Pat?
Pardon me?
What time is it?
6 to 7, I believe, is the reception, and the Kalkaska band will be playing music prior to the start of that, and then the awards start promptly at 7.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
I'm working here, Joe, sorry. Sorry, I took a break anyway, so. Tell me when. You have the floor.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try really hard to be exciting. It's hard to follow Carol with her staff accolades and Pat with all the great things the students are doing, and then talk about a comprehensive evaluation system. But in my world, it's extremely exciting, and I'm happy to have just a couple minutes to update
like
everybody about this. I'm sorry?
Sounds like an audit, very exciting.
Well, it could be. Could be. Funny that you say that. We're choosing to look at it a little bit of a different way, and that's actually a nice segue into where I wanted to start. And I think we dealt with a little bit of this during Mike's report. But there are really two ways to look at evaluation, and you can look at evaluation as something that you do to measure how well somebody's doing, or perhaps some areas that they need to grow in, or how well an organization is doing, or perhaps isn't doing, and that's kind of compliance. You know, or you can look at it the way that we choose to look at it, and that is, how do we use this information to work together to get better, to grow as professionals, so ultimately student performance increases, and that's really the way that we've made a conscious choice to look at this model, and you know, that's the reason that of the 4 options that we had. We picked the Robert J. Marzano model, or the Marzano causal evaluation model, whatever you prefer to call it. And you know, the big thing with this model, obviously, is that the whole thing is grounded in research. John Hattie, who is kind of the researcher right now that everybody is talking about, and he happens to be from Australia or New Zealand, and he's just got this great accent when he talks, and one of the things that he really beats the drum on is the power of feedback, and that's really what this model is all about. In fact, if you really delve into his research, one of the things that you find out is that formative evaluation has an effect of about 0.90, and I could give you the research definition of what that means, but just an easier way to think about it is anything that has an effect of above about 0.4 is just plainly obvious to the naked eye. It's something that you can immediately see the impact of. And
what's an effect? What's the?
An effect would be a blatantly obvious difference between those that receive the treatment in the research and those that don't.
So a control group, you can see.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so another way to think about it statistically would be an effect of 1.0 would mean that that group that received the treatment would typically perform 1 standard deviation higher than anybody that didn't. Okay? I just like to describe it in layman's terms and say it's something that you can see. It's quite obvious to you that there's a positive difference, at least in this case. And so obviously this evaluation system is designed to evaluate our school leaders, whether they're superintendents or school principals, whether there are teachers, or whether there are other certificated licensed professionals, such as all of our itinerant staff members. Okay, that's just a little review on this. And the model is designed to provide that feedback that we talked about just a minute ago under the framework of 4 domains. You see those listed on the screen. There are 10 design questions that sort of help to organize the information within those domains, and the information that exists within those domains are 60 elements. There are 60 elements that, again, are based on research. They're things that we should be doing. They're strategies and activities that we should be doing if we want to have a positive impact on student performance. And as we were doing this research, one of the things that we found that was really interesting about this model was that about 60% of it is based on what happens in the classroom, and that's everything that exists in domain 1. So if we want to improve student performance, that's a place that we really need to focus. And again, we want to make sure that the things that we focus on are based on evidence and research. I wanted to show a couple examples of what those things might be. Again, these are examples of strategies and approaches that we might take as educators that help with student performance. One of the strategies that you see listed at the top of the presentation has to do with identifying similarities and differences within classrooms, comparing and classifying things, etc. And you can see that when students engage in this activity and it's something that we deliver properly, there's the opportunity. Research suggests that students' performance will increase up to 45% compared to those who do not. So this is the approach that we're attempting to take as we implement this model. If you look on the other side and you look at approaches, again, we're having a presentation, we're talking about evaluation, and you can see the research that I just talked about in terms of the effect of formative evaluation on student performance. Just a couple of examples. Still excited?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Some other examples on the second page. If you take a look at the green, generating and testing hypothesis, inductive and deductive reasoning, systems analysis, problem solving. You can see the effect of about 0.6, or the projected percentile gain of student performance of about 23% when we implement these methods. Last week, we talked a little bit about what type of investment we're making in this model. I guess, Bob, we talked about that a little bit today, and one of the questions that we had earlier was, well, how long are we going to continue to make this investment? And one of the things that Mike mentioned was we're really working to try and build capacity so that when we get 4 years out with this, we're not spending the same amount of money that we spent last year or that we plan to spend next year. And we really are building capacity and should have significant return on investment for this initiative. One of the things that I wanted to show everybody, this is a menu, and I realize it's a little difficult to see because of the size of the print, but these are all of the training and support opportunities that TBA ISD staff in general and special education are providing right now as they align with the 10 design questions of the model. And we're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 different opportunities that we're offering staff members in school districts, both internally and externally.
Now, who's doing the training?
Well, our staff would be providing the training that is listed.
They are going to train?
Yes.
To train?
Yes.
There's no outside people coming right into the district?
Well, we continue to work with folks from Marzano Research Laboratories and LSI to give us that first round of training. For example, one of the things that was in the package that you approved earlier this evening had to do with some training that we're going to get in terms of developing assessments at the unit level that we think will give us some information and data that we need to know where and when to apply the strategies.
Which people in our staff are doing the training?
Which people in our staff are doing the training?
Not by name, but I mean.
No, sure. The training that's listed on this particular menu would be people from general education and special education.
And are they sent to the various areas for training, or do the trainees come over here and train?
We do. Well, the trainees typically have come here.
Okay.
There have been a few occasions when they've been sent, but typically it's easier for us to bring those folks here, and it's less expensive. They can handle a larger group of people.
Jason, something that you prepared for us previously, though, I inferred that some of the training already existed. You looked at the 10 basic questions and you looked at what you were already doing and saw that much of what you were already doing aligned with that. Was that correct?
Yeah, very much so. And
Not
a lot
just
of that would show
necessarily
on this
new
slide. Yes.
kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Is that,
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Any other questions before I go on?
That's very blurry, so it's hard to, not only is it small, it's
small and blurry.
so.
My apologies.
No.
I can Get you
And make no lenses.
Get
big
you a
enough for
clean
my
copy.
glasses.
Some data points that I thought might be interesting to look at. Maybe this gets to some of those things that we were talking about before. To this point, we've trained about 2,400 individuals. Okay, some of them more than one time, but that's what our numbers look like. We've worked with folks from Marzano Research Laboratories to provide training in terms of an overview of the model, specific training for the domains and frameworks, specific training for what we call inter-rater reliability scoring and feedback to make sure that those that are involved in doing evaluations are seeing things the same and that they're scoring and recording and reporting as consistent with what's expected with the model. There's been training on the eye observation instrument, which is the electronic application that allows for communication amongst staff members, that houses all of the evaluation data, also provides access to instructional videos, examples of what applying these techniques appropriately might look like. It's a very comprehensive system. That will be one thing that we will probably have ongoing cost for. Learning goals and scales. This is an example of the train the trainer question that you asked. Our staff members have been trained by those folks and are now delivering that training at the building level and within districts. Obviously, we've had specific training on the differences within each of the models. And one of the other things that we've really done a lot of, and this is really where you can see that the capacity is being built with our staff, is we've provided customized training in 10 of our school districts. Now the number in terms of the attendees of the customized training I don't have, but that's not included in the 2,400 that's mentioned at the top of the slide. There's been quite a bit of activity in terms of those things. And I guess the last piece of data that I wanted to mention is just that at this point within eye observation, we've got about 2,700 inputs, and it's very interesting for us to begin to see patterns. I would expect that next year at this time we'll have 5 to 10 times that amount. And it will really, let's talk a little bit about how we're going to apply that, but it really will help us from a system perspective, to get into this continuous improvement cycle, and really where we're able to use that data to aid and support and shift if necessary. Our strategic planning, we can use that data to inform our school and district improvement plans. We can certainly use that data to support and bolster other initiatives such as what we used to call RTI and now call MTSS, the creation of personal growth plans for staff members, and the last one is really legislative advocacy. We've had a lot of discussion tonight about assessment, and sometimes we find ourselves at in a state where we're in situations and we do things because they're convenient or because the political will is there, and it's not necessarily the best thing for teaching and learning. And we're going to have some evidence, some data that hopefully will be hard to refute and that we'll be able to use in the future to try to influence policy. And it's really exciting to have a region of our size collaborating on this, and we're going to have access to that information. Maybe not as exciting as the happy video, but pretty exciting. So what's ahead? Next year, in terms of our regional implementation, we hope to add, at least one of those 2 districts that still haven't jumped on board. We'll see what happens with that. We're certainly going to have a much larger sample of data, which we talked about before. We're certainly going to move ahead with additional training and support items on the menu that we looked at earlier, as well as some of what you approved tonight. A lot of work in terms of common elements where we see need or focus across the region. A lot of work to support the Common Core State Standards implementation when we get there. Critical thinking, problem solving, increased rigor, some of the other things that Mike talked about during his presentation. And to use the data to do some district the creation of some district-specific work plans in terms of training. And I think I mentioned last time, Paul Bauer and I are meeting with district administrators to try to work with them to create plans specific to each school district and their needs, which I think is kind of exciting. And assessment development is certainly part of plans for next year. And then the alignment of all the various plans, the growth plans of individuals, whether that filters down from district leadership to building level leadership to teaching staff, or whether that filters up in the other direction, and also the alignment of planning in terms of from the intermediate school district to the local school district to the individual building, individual subject area, grade level, etc. Really tremendous opportunity here for our work to be informed. And I will try to answer any questions.
It's a huge project.
It is a huge project.
How about with two districts that aren't on? Are you in talks, any chances of them joining or no?
You know, we continue to offer and to encourage at every opportunity, and we will do that until we're just told to go away.
What seems to be their issue? They just don't want to do this
A lot of
one
work.
specific?
You know, I think sometimes the size of the district can be a challenge, and that probably is the issue that we're dealing with. It's probably the one that's most prevalent. Those are good questions. Any others? Those of us that are here are still awake, so okay, good. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Board communications.
You know, just request with all the list of the different year-end activities, could we
Yeah, it's on the
get?
front page, dates to remember also.
Yeah. Yeah, appreciate it.
We need a resolution to go into a closed session.
So moved. Second.
Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's under section 8C of the Open Meetings Act. Thank you for coming. You're welcome to come back in 20 minutes. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.